Now, where are you from?
Was born in Durham, but raised in Roxboro, North Carolina.
And if nobody's familiar with Durham or Roxbury?
Roxboro.
Roxboro.
Uh-huh.
How far is that from, let's say, Charlotte, where most people might recognize out of North Carolina?
About 2.5 hours.
Which one? Durham or Roxboro?
Well, both. They're both side by side, actually.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. All right.
Yeah.
And
Durham is where Duke is.
Oh, okay.
Duke, yeah.
Now, how old were you when you moved from Durham to Roxboro?
Well, I moved back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah, I just moved from Durham actually in January.
What was
back to Roxboro.
What was the initial reason for moving, or why move back and forth?
Well, really, it's just Roxboro is just a small country town. It really don't have much, but that's where my mom's from. But Durham, it has more jobs. It has more options, you know. And music, it has more of a music scene.
Is there a certain part of Durham or Roxboro you represent?
Nah, no part in specific, but I'm from North Durham and South Roxboro. Actually, it's like 15 minutes apart.
And how often do you go back and forth between these cities?
Almost every day.
Oh,
almost
okay.
every day.
Now, growing up, what was that like in Durham or Roxboro? And how old did you say you were when you first moved to Roxboro?
Well, when I first moved to Roxboro, I was like 1.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
That young, all right.
Yeah.
So what was it like, either or, growing up in Durham or Roxboro for you? Can you paint the picture for us? Your upbringing.
Well, Roxboro was crazy because Roxboro is a small city, and like, I don't know, it does have the street side, and my brother was into the street, so growing up, it was just a lot of, you know, growing up, and this is what I was associated with. And then I went to Helena, and then it got the race factor too, you know. I like the ladies, so I would talk to the ladies or whatever when I was even in elementary school, and they would tell me, I like you too, but my daddy don't let me date black boys. So growing up, it was just making me feel like, well, what is it about me? You know what I'm saying? What's different about me? And so I grew up a little bit of that, you know, trying to find my lane, not get in trouble, you know, not follow my brother's footsteps, and also just find my identity. So I don't know, that's just been my journey coming up in Roxboro.
Was it a rough upbringing for you? Would you consider it rough?
Nah, not really, because I had both parents. And my pops, he definitely always made sure we had what we needed. I mean, not always had what we wanted, but we always had what we needed.
As a kid, did you get into trouble?
Nah, not with the law, but in school, yeah, every day.
What type of student were you in school?
Oh, I was a terrible student. I barely made it. I remember on my graduation day, my mom and my sister and them, they came over there. They came to the school to see me graduate. And they were having a conversation amongst themselves, like, do you think, they called me Trey because I'm the third, but they were like, do you think Trey graduated? And they were just waiting to see me walk across the stage, and I walked. Yeah. I'm not proud of it, though. I'm not proud of it.
Did you rap in school?
Yeah, I started, I wrote my first song when I was 15. It was a remix to Rocco, I'ma Do Me.
Battled other classmates?
Nah, never.
Now, you graduated high school. What about college?
Nah, didn't go to college. I went to college for 3 days. I went and I was trying to get the little check that they give you, but nobody told me you have to pay it back.
You learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
So you go there for 3 days. Now, what was the plan? Okay, you're out of high school. You want to get this check for some money. What was the plan? Was it to pursue music seriously at that point, or was it other things going on and then music was pursued seriously at another point in your life?
Yeah, I think, well, when I was 8, I always just knew that I would be famous and successful doing something. So I guess my whole life was always trying to gear me towards that. And even when college was about, I always just wanted to be a successful rapper. So it was definitely part of the plans and in my mind. But I guess just the local stuff, you know, with the guys and running with the boys, it was just, you know, me trying to keep up with that too. So I guess it was contradicting each other. But all in all, like, music was always on my mind. It was always my focus.
So how long before, after you get this check of 3 days in college, how long before music is pursued seriously?
Seriously?
Is it a year after, 2 years after, 3 years after?
Actually,
right away?
Actually, so at that time I'm 18. I actually didn't come out and really get the studio, get my bass, meet my engineer, meet producers until I was 24. And when I was 24, I just started doing it more. But it was actually this year, 2016, I got the copyrights to my company, LBM, Let's Be Millionaires Music Group. And in 2017, that's when I felt like the losses just was coming. Like, I lost my relationship. I actually lost a sister, March 11th. She passed away. And it was just like, it's all or nothing. So right here, right now, like this year, 2017 is when, by any means necessary. Like, even coming here, I drove 5 hours, you know, in a rusty Jeep, you know, just to get here. But growth. It's all about growth.
What were you doing in the meantime between those years? Were you mentioned the guys, you also mentioned there was like one of the cities, I don't know if it was Roxboro or Durham, you said one of those was more like kind of street, more
well,
like
actually,
street related for you on that side of things. So were you in the streets?
A little.
Were you doing street activities?
Yeah, a little bit.
Between 18 and 24?
Yeah, definitely like between 18 and 20. And that's when I started seeing a lot of my friends get numbers like 10 years for doing crazy stuff. And I just knew that that wasn't a route that I wanted to go to. But it was always like an influence, you know. One of the stories I always tell was my big brother. He was a Hoover Crip. And when I was 6 years old, he came home from the group home, and they was all burning the C's on their arm, and I was 6 years old, and I burnt the C on my arm just trying to be like my big brother. I didn't know what it meant or what it stood for, but like the streets have always been to the left side. My mom and my father, they tried to raise me the best way they could, so I grew up, the dichotomy of it. I grew up in the middle, I guess. Yeah.
Were you kind of suckered into the street stuff? Did you like that type of that type of side of things, or were you trying to deflect that?
At the beginning, I was all in. Like that's what
fascinated by it,
fascinated
by it,
yeah,
liking to it.
Yeah, and I think that's what the local girls liked anyway. They liked the rebels. They liked the guys with the name. So that's what initially I tried to do, and I tried to, put out. But when I grew up and I started reading, and I started really learning what was going on, I realized that ain't it. That's not the direction. You know, why be a street nigga when you could be an entrepreneur? You know, it just don't make sense.
So, in regards to that, you doing some street activities and that sort of thing in your life, any regrets dealing with that side of things?
Nah, I think I hustled a little bit, but I think hustling, actually, I think karma's coming back to get me because I hustled and I got easy money. Now I have to earn it the hard way. So, in that regard, yeah, I don't think you ever really get away with doing anything. But not really, like I don't have a record. I don't really have too many beefs. I mean, it's a few guys I don't like, but I don't have beefs. I don't have a record, so it's not a horror story.
Dealing with the streets, though, for the time you were in it, was it worth it? Was the risk worth the reward, or what you got out of it?
Yeah, I think it was worth it because it was lessons learned. It always taught me to be sharp and to watch. I mean, even I was talking to my sister on the way up here, but like when I park into a parking space, I don't pull in, I bag in. It was an old head, and he told me, he said, I always bag in because you never know when you're gonna have to leave in a hurry. So I mean, just like little details, just to be sharp. I carry it into business too. Learn every facet of your business. Learn, read more. Read more. It's hard for a person to beat you, and you're more intelligent than they are. So I think just being observant, that came from the streets.
What do you say to a kid that's maybe 1 foot in the streets, 1 foot out? Let's say they just graduated high school. What's the advice there you tell a kid like that?
To be honest, I just watched the movie and it changed my whole life. It was the 13th, and it was talking about the 13th Amendment. I'll tell that kid, watch that movie. But for me, just out of my mouth, like, just a little quick piece of advice is just weigh your options. What's the risk? Is being popular, making $10,000 worth 10 years? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you work at McDonald's for 10 years, you'll have way more than $10,000, but you're trying to make this fast money. You may get it, but you got weight on you. The cop catch you with the weight. Now you got to do 10 years. No, it's not worth it.
And just to remind people out there about street activities, there can be consequences with it. It's a very risky avenue.
Definitely.
Violence can come about, jail, you know, prison time, stuff like that.
Definitely.
Those are some things that can happen. And of course, always looking over your shoulder.
Yeah. And
you don't have to look over your shoulder if you're not doing those type of activities.
Right, and that's not the life. That's not the life.
But you said, though, what the time you did spend in it, though, was worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in that regard, like, you know, because the negative makes for the positive, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, just being paranoid. Paranoid teaches you to be sharp. But instead of me, how can I say it? I always say misery loves company. So instead of me just taking all this anger and putting it out on everything and people who don't deserve it, I just take the hard times and everything, I just take them in my business. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, if you, or even this, if you're going to be on the street corner, you're going to hustle, and you're going to hustle late hours, and you're going to hustle and you're going to try to get this money or whatever, but you're risking your freedom. Instead of doing all that, you know, focusing on the negative, just take that time, that focus, that drive, and put it into a business, into a company. You know what I'm saying? And then also read and learn how you could get your company. I believe the majority of the people where I come from, or the people who come from the culture that we come from, they're intelligent people. They just don't, for one, we don't read enough, but for two, we don't know that we actually do have all the tools that we need, you know? So, I don't know. It was worth it.
Now, what about college? Do you wish that you actually did go to college, or was not going to college and how everything played out in your life, it is what it is type of situation? It was okay.
As of right now, I just believe
you know, hindsight 2020, looking back at your life, do you wish you would have attended college, or not really, not necessary?
Nah, it's funny because I don't wish I would have finished it then, because I just feel like the way things are happening now, like I read books constantly, like now, you know, week after week. And when I went to college at that time, I wasn't ready. So I don't really wish I would have finished it, because I wouldn't have been going in the right direction. But at the same time, like, now I would go back. I think college is good if you use it and you use the tools, of course, you know, get your degree. But then I wasn't ready. I don't even feel like I'm the same person.
What was your parents' reaction for you to attend college for 3 days and then bounce?
To tell you the truth, they really didn't even know.
Oh.
They really didn't even know. Like,
you played it off like you were going to college?
Nah, just that.
Oh, they didn't know you even tried to attend it?
Nah, I had actually moved out. I was living in Roxboro at the time, and I had moved out to the north side with one of my friends. And we were just doing different things, you know, jugging, trying to make moves, trying to make money. And my homeboy, he came up to me. He was like, man, you know, you can go to the school and they give you these grant checks. So I'm like, okay, well, let's get that. I'm going to take that grant check and I'm going to put it over here and try to flip it. So that's what that was about. It actually wasn't about the education at all. I always knew that I wanted to be a businessman, and if it took me getting a business degree, then I would do it. But at that time, wasn't my focus.
And that's probably one of the worst loans you could ever get.
I promise. I learned it.
Because that's the only loan that can come back to haunt you.
Yeah, and it did. It came back. I promise.
Now, what jobs did you have growing up, if any?
Oh, man, I worked doing everything, man. My first job was in Durham, North Durham. It was the dog house. We made hot dogs. Second job may have been Burger King. Third job, I moved to Raleigh. I lived in Raleigh for two and a half years. I worked at a call center. I met a lot of people out there too. Good people doing productive things, but worked at a call center in Raleigh. I've been working at Honda. It's in my new music, but I've been working at Honda Power Equipment. We make lawnmowers. I've been working there for 6 years. And that's another reason I'm like pushing this business, pushing my music. I got to get out of there ASAP.
Oh, so you're still currently working there?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I actually worked today. I left work, hit the highway, and came here.
Not afraid to admit that you still have a job and you're rapping?
Nah, because it's part of my story. You know, I only can be me.
Now, the interesting thing about that, and the reason why I ask that, is because when I do ask people this question, rappers especially, you know, what jobs have you done, that sort of thing, some people kind of try to skate that question.
Yeah, I think so.
Some people kind of, when I ask it, they kind of give it like a funny face, like, why would you ask me that? And I always just kind of find it, you know, I don't think it's a big deal to ask what somebody may have done as a job, but I feel like, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, rappers kind of look down upon having a regular job or having had to do it.
Yeah.
They definitely wouldn't admit doing it like how you just said you're still working at a job. It's not something that's bragged about, promoted, or talked about.
Yeah.
Is that safe to say?
Yeah, I think it's safe to say. But
why do you think that is?
I think it's a moniker. I think to be a rebel or to always be that street guy, to be brolic, I think it's praise. But at the same time, like I said earlier in the interview, it's hard for you to beat somebody who's more intelligent than you. So I'll work, I'll be humble, I'll be myself until God bless me with more. I'll read and I'll study, and maybe one day you'll work for me. You know.
Any of those jobs you had tough?
Honda's definitely tough. Honda's definitely tough. But the hardest one actually was Burger King. I'm not cut out for fast food at all. At all.
Stressful job?
Yeah. And then what it is too, what I found out is like when you work and you're doing the job, somebody will come to you, the person who training you may train you or tell you that you gotta do extra, and which is not even part of your job, but just so that they can slack off a little more. It's not even, you know what I mean? And I don't mind working hard, I'm a hard worker, but you ain't gonna take advantage of me.
Any crazy stories dealing with any of those jobs? Anything out of the norm?
Nah, not really. Not really anything out of the norm.
Quit these jobs, get fired from these jobs? What ended up happening?
Yeah, I got fired from the doghouse, my first one.
For what?
I actually don't even know. I really don't know. Like, I worked the whole day, and my manager, I could tell she was playing me to the left a little bit, but I'm just thinking she's sick or she having an off day. But when I'm leaving out of the parking lot, she called me to the, like, me and her both leaving at the same time. She locking the door, but I'm continue walking to my car. So she called me back, and she like, Alan. I'm like, yes, ma'am. She like, you can't come back here tomorrow. And I'm like, waiting for her to laugh, waiting for the punchline, but she never laughed. So, I mean, I was just so hurt, I didn't even ask questions, you know?
Was it a racist thing?
Nah, I really don't think so. Actually, if I had to speculate, it was a girl there, and we were a little fond of each other. I think she had something to do with it.
Oh.
Yeah, but I ain't for sure, though, so I ain't gonna put that on her.
What about the other jobs? Fired or quit, or what?
Burger King, man, I was fired from Burger King too, man. Good gracious. It was crazy, man, because, okay, I went, and I usually write down my schedule before I leave. So I have my next week's schedule, so I know what times to come in. But this week I didn't do it. So I went and I called my manager. And I had a manager, but I had a supervisor, then I had a manager. The manager was over the supervisor. But long story short, I called my supervisor, and I'm like, do I come in tomorrow? Well, she told me no. And she said, you off for today. So I didn't come in, and I came in the next day. But the next day, they was like, what are you doing here? You're fired. I'm like, what the world would you mean I'm fired? What I do wrong? And they like, no call, no show. I'm like, what you mean no call, no show? Like, I called, and I asked did I have to work. She told me I ain't have to work. So it was me, my manager, and the supervisor, and we was talking, and the supervisor didn't admit to it. Didn't admit that she told me I didn't have to work. So I had to take the short end of that stick.
What about the other jobs?
The call center, I left that one. I left the call center because my lease was up in Raleigh. So I just moved back home to Roxboro.
No problems at the Honda spot. 6 years and rolling?
Oh, man, Honda, man, that's the devil in that place. Lord have mercy, man. And it just depends on what shift, depending on what department, depending on what manager you're under, your experience that you will have there. But with me and mine, the way I came into it is, in anything I do, man, if one person could do it, I could do it. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to sit back and I'm going to learn, I'm going to study. But at the same time, it came back to haunt me because I'm working in the plant, and you throw me on a job, I'm going to do it. I feel like if Bill, Phil, and Joy, they could do it, I could do it. So I jump on the job and I learn it. Well, the short end of the stick is that they put me everywhere. And like, it's just like, I see somebody over here slacking off, but I got to work like a slave, and we both getting paid the same. So it's like, I got to get out of there.
Are both parents in your life?
Yeah, definitely.
Together or separate?
Together. I'm a third.
That's amazing, because most people I interview, their parents are separated, divorced. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're not even brought up by their parents. It might be their grandparents.
Yeah.
What do you think their secret is on staying together?
It was religion. It was religion. My parents are Christians, and they devout. Matter of fact,
Christians.
Strong. Matter of fact, last year, 2015, my father became a deacon in the church. Yeah, definitely.
Now, in regards to your parents, what's the worst thing you put them through?
When I was 17, I had a little money because even before the streets, I always was good with just business. Like if I buy a pair of shoes, that's brand new, I'll trade them to my friend. He may have 2 of them, but they in like, they're worn a couple times, but I'll trade you my brand new, and you wore these. I talk them down. So I have 2 pairs of shoes. And then I may sell a pair, and I might wear a pair. And growing up, like from 11, that's how I always did it. But anyway, I had money when I was 17, so I wanted to buy me a paintball gun. Bought me a paintball gun, get a couple of my friends. It's like 12 o'clock at night. We're wearing black bandanas, running up and down the street, just shooting cars. And I had one more bullet left, and I shot this car. And it was 3 of us. 2 of us took off in the woods. My friend, he texting on the phone, and with girls, man, when he locked on a girl and focused, don't nothing in the world matter. So he was texting. The people was they drove past us, stopped, reversed, and then the guy jumped out the driver's seat, was questioning him what's going on. He talking about he don't know what's going on. He like, you do know what's going on. Like, it was 3 of y'all. Now it's just you. What's up? Like, I'm going to take you. I'm going to call the police on you if you don't tell me. So I heard him, because I'm in the woods, ducked down behind a tree. So me and my partner, we come out the woods or whatever, and I'm like, I did it. So, man, it was like 4 cop cars just on that street, man. It was so blue. But anyway, man, they ended up taking my gun and taking me back home. And when they knocked on the door, the police got me by the arm, and he opened the door. My pop see the police officer, the look on his face. So I think that's probably the worst moment. They was disappointed.
Are you the only child, or did you have siblings?
Nah, it's actually 4 of us. I got 2 older brothers, and then an older sister. I'm the youngest.
Anyone else in your family raps aside yourself, or just you?
Actually, my oldest brother, he does. I got a song with him, Wrist On, Ballistic Gambino.
Who raps better, you or your brother?
Oh, man. We different, but I actually think he's more talented than I am. I actually do, because he can sing too. Definitely, and he's big homie, you know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, like, when he's talking about the streets and when he's talking about different things, everybody can relate, and everybody knows that, he was there. Like, half the people back home, when they hear that record, they like, yeah, I remember when that happened, So with me, I'm more of conscious, and I'm just like ambitious with mine. He's more street. It's 2 different brackets, but I think he got his on smash.
Is it a competition between you guys?
Nah, never.
What does your family think about your rap career?
They like it. Everybody supports it, especially my siblings. But my mom, it's crazy, man, because I always felt like I said, on the left side, man, was always the streets. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't think you was a man unless you was a Crip growing up. You know what I'm saying? It didn't take me until I probably was like 20 to see otherwise. But on the other hand, it was my mom, my parents, and religion. And I didn't know how rap would have fit in my household. So as of till recent, man, I never even let my parents hear my music. I mean, they heard me recording because I recorded some of it in the house when I was in high school, but never sat them down and let them listen to a song, and they loved it.
Were they supportive right away, or did they have to warm up to it?
Supportive right away.
Your parents?
Yeah, definitely.
Even with the strong Christian background?
Yeah. And one thing about my music, I never curse. I never curse.
Why not?
Just because of that. Like, I want, well, actually, my method is, I want my music, if I could paint the picture, to be the key that unlocks every door. I don't care how old you are, your nationality, whether you got money or you ain't got money, that you can relate to it. It's something in my music that you could take home. And I just feel like not cursing, not the bitches, not the hoes, and all this, that, and the third. Without all that, everybody can relate to it. Like, a white girl from Beverly Hills, her parents will feel comfortable with her listening to Verde.
What about the N-word? What's your stance on that? Do you use that?
Nah, I use that, though. I use that, though. And like I said, I'm from Roxboro, so real young, they let you know that's what you was. You know what I mean? And it's just something that we take, and I just feel like we make it for positive, you know what I'm saying? Like, even my mom, like I said, my mom and my dad into the church, but they use it too. But it's just something we use, you know what I mean?